The top four in the Premier League standings, at least for now, at least until Chelsea do have that juicy match against Manchester City. They're just 1 point behind Manchester United in the table. But Paul Mariner here with me now. Maris, just quick thoughts on the game now. Just another clinical win from Man United, reminding us again of the Fergie days.
It was fantastic. The first 10 minutes or so, 12 minutes was somewhat of a game. Fulham came out of the blocks really quick. But after that, I mean, Ranieri in his pre-match quotes was saying that he wants to inspire the team today, and he did for 10 minutes. But unfortunately, in the Premier League, 10 minutes is not good enough, especially against a Manchester United team that is absolutely flying all over the place.
What were some of the highlights for you? If we're talking about players, who really stood out for you today? Because we can say Anthony Martial, we can say Paul Pogba as well, but for you, who you think stole the show?
What was interesting, there's a few things actually. What was interesting for me was the fact that he changed it. He had the luxury of changing it. Lingard and Rashford out, Sanchez out. So I'm sure he's playing Martial because he needs to see more consistency from Martial. And I think with that partnership that he's got with Pogba, that friendship also, he was mentoring, he was talking to him all the time.
A little French connection? A
little bit of French connection. And the way that Martial scored his goal, I mean, he picked it up in his own half, drove into the box and finished it, shrugging off. Poor defensive plays, but he looked the real deal today. You've got to mention Pogba. I just feel that the way that he's been played, it just reminds me when he plays for France, the way that Deschamps deploys him for France.
Finally, this is a Pogba.
Exactly, he's a little bit further up the field. He's got Herrera and Matic who are protecting him. Mata does his little bit as well. And it's a totally different player. I mean, he's absolutely bossing the whole middle of the park, which is generally where the game is won. Not only is he playing in a more advanced role, but he's also dropping in deep as well and putting his mileage in defensively. So,
Mourinho would have been proud of that, but I guess he didn't want to do that.
The transformation is incredible. It really is.
This is the first time, 10 goals now, for the first time ever for Paul Pogba in his career.
And he could have had more.
And he could have had more.
He really could. Not only is he creating, he's making runs in the box. As I say, he's doing absolutely everything. And for, what did he play, 73 minutes or so? And then Solskjaer's had enough of it. He looked as though he could have played another 2 or 3 games. It didn't look as though he was out of breath at all. He was playing in such a comfort zone and with so much fun. It's a joy to see because we all know what he's capable of, but under Mourinho, as you say, we lost him.
We lost him indeed. I think Manchester United lost themselves. And speaking of losing, that's exactly what's been the story quickly for Fulham. We'll spare a thought for them now and Ranieri because things are just looking darker and darker.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Look, I remember doing the predictor with you on Thursday, and I mentioned about the front three, Mitrovic, Schürrle and Babel. I thought, okay, they've got a bit of a chance because in the position that they're in, they've got to score goals.
And they came out of the blocks. They came at United.
Exactly. They had a couple of chances. They didn't take the chances. But what is going on at the back? It's absolutely shambolic. Some of the decision making, you've got Le Marchand, he's dribbling the ball out, surrounded by 3 red shirts. Now, it didn't come to a goal, but it's just, is there any coaching going on? What is going on? Because Shaw and Martial down that left-hand side, it was like, get the cigars out, boys, and the brandy. There was no cover. I couldn't believe it. Fulham, I know Fulham in trouble, but I'll tell you what, they are in massive trouble. There's no way that playing like that, and I know United are flying, but if they keep defending like that, Fulham are dead and buried.
Well, as you said, Manchester United have been flying now, still unbeaten under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We'll get to his hot streak in a bit, but let's look ahead now to the future because bigger mountains do lie in the near future. There you can see Man United's upcoming fixtures, the next 5 matches in all competitions. That juicy one coming up this week against PSG, albeit a weekend PSG or a weird PSG that's going on right now. And then they've got FA Cup against Chelsea, then Liverpool, that's going to be a big one. Crystal Palace as well can pose a threat, and then the Premier League again against Southampton. So Maris, how do you see them tackling this week? Or these next 5 matches?
Well, Solskjaer obviously rested players today, so he's got one eye on the PSG game, and quite right too. Look, you look at the Chelsea game, you look at the Liverpool game, huge tests. But they're a huge test for everybody. Now, the thing is, at the back of my mind, if I'm a Chelsea player, a PSG player, or a Liverpool player, is that Man United are flying. He seems to know his best back four, and he's been rotating his back four. He's got the midfield sorted out. And I'll tell you what, take a pick out of 3 or 4 forward players who can do the business. I mean, mine goes back to I think it was the Leicester game last week when United, that front three, not only were they playing fantastically well, but they were rotating in different positions, which is even more trouble for defences that they're coming up against. So you've got Lingard, Rashford, Sanchez, possibly, who are interchanging, they're popping up all over the place, they're being very direct. And then when you've got the service of a Pogba nowadays, with unbelievable ball on the volley through for Rashford for his goal, you've got something going on. So yes, it's a massive test for Manchester United and the players, but to be perfectly honest, I think it really got that much to lose because everybody's waiting for this bubble to burst.
Exactly. So who do you think could burst their bubble? Who do you think is going to be the biggest threat in bursting their bubble,
Look,
at least of those 5 games?
Look, the hatred between Liverpool and Manchester United, it's been there ever since I was a kid. Right? That's never going away.
It's a long time.
It's a long, long time. but that's at Old Trafford. So that's a difficult game for Liverpool. It's a difficult game for both sides. To predict that winner, I've got no idea. I really haven't.
Do you think Liverpool could be the first banana peel for Solskjaer?
Well, yes, purely and simply because PSG at home, right? And then Chelsea can be anything. And I think I think going forward, it's a big month for Sarri. I think going forward with what United have got, I think they're going to pose a threat to that Chelsea defence. So, yeah, it looks a little bit scary when you go, oh, look at the next 5 games. But the way that they're playing, the confidence that has been inspired in that group, I think they've got nothing to fear.
And they have a lot of that confidence to thank. Well, they have to thank a certain man for that confidence, and that is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. If we just have a look at the hot streak that he has got Manchester United on, Maris, and it is just absolutely brilliant to think that they are still unbeaten. This is their 10th win in 11 games under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. There was, of course, that draw. I mean, it's amazing what we're seeing.
Think about the state of the football club when he came through that building. And everybody's scoffing, oh, Solskjaer's been doing the television over in Norway, what's that all about? But what he's done, he's got the staff together. Look at the togetherness of the staff. Mickey Phelan coming in, I think that's a genius move because he was with Sir Alex for a long, long time. Absolute genius move. When you look at the togetherness of the staff, that filters through to the players on the training ground, it filters through to the players on the match day field. It's such a feel-good factor, feel-good factor. And people might poo-poo and say, that's just, froth. It's not.
It matters.
It's not. Because the way that Mike Phelan and Solskjaer and his staff and Carrick, the way that they individually go around and talk to players, it's massive. It's massive. And it's not to be understated what a job that this lad has done.
Well, with that said, let's get to some questions now, shall we?
Yeah, why not?
All right, well, with exactly what you just said, we have a good question from Bobby, and he wants to know if Man United win those next 5 games, should Solskjaer get the job permanently, especially after what you just said, the whole romantic thing, the feeling that is around this team. This is a great audition for him so far. He's passing the flying colours. Why not?
If he wins those 5 games, I don't think it's a question of should, it's will. He 100% will get the job. Look, as I said earlier, everybody was sort of Solskjaer, what's that all about? But look how he's transformed this club. What else could this lad have done? He couldn't have done anything else.
Yeah.
And Sir Alex and Sir Bobby Charlton in the stands and all the hierarchy, they can smell it, you can feel it. They're around the players as well. They know what's going on at that club. And when you factor in, okay, who's available? Can they get Pochettino? Can Pochettino do a better job? Will Daniel Levy let him go? Who else is available? Zidane's not ready, doesn't speak the lingo, all this sort of stuff. So he's making an incredible case for himself. He really is.
Give the man the job. Another question now from Owen. He says, how important was it for Manchester United to hang on to the likes of Anthony Martial, especially because even pre-season last summer when we were there, we were talking about it, it seemed like he could have been on his way out. We were doing it in transfer rate, and a lot of you guys said, yeah, he should leave Man United because things are not going there now. Just signed a new contract. Yeah. How important is he to the rebuilding of the team? Well,
cast your mind back to why we were saying that he's got to get away. It was because of the manager. The manager didn't believe in him when he was having his baby. The manager was very critical. I mean, all these things. I mean, look, since Solskjaer's come in, what he's got to do, and I touched on it earlier, with the connection between the coaching staff to Martial, put their arm around him, this is what you can do, we believe in you, blah, blah, blah. The goal he scored against Fulham today was remarkable. And that the feel-good factor with Pogba. Pogba's got his arm around this kid, and I can just see it. And I think that everything is rose in the garden. Now, so that means, you know, I've not even talked about Lukaku and Mata, but I just look at that there's 4 players for those 3 slots. Now, when you've got players pushing each other constantly in training and on game day, then you've got something going on. So you've got Sanchez, who's been highly criticised, so Martial comes in, scores a great goal. And then you've got Lingard and Rashford, who are absolutely on top of the game.
Next question now. This one's from Littlefinger. I didn't really see his actual name, but Littlefinger wants to know, plain and simple, if we had to choose, I guess, a down point of this game against Fulham. He says, Maras, what do we do with Lukaku? Because this is the kind of game you think he would take advantage of, especially being against Fulham and Marcus Rashford not there in the forefront and in the form that Marcus Rashford's been in. So,
well, I mean, before it was flipped, when it was Lukaku was head and shoulders above Rashford. Rashford now is leaving him in the dust. I mean,
so is that just normal, not to worry too much?
Not
because obviously
not
you guys
really.
have different seasons, different times.
Not really, no. Look, the more and more you're out of the first team, because you've got to. Everybody says, "Oh, you've got to get up to speed." You need a few games to get up to speed. You can't have a few games at this stage of the season to get up to speed.
So he should be worried.
He should be worried, yeah. He should look. He's got to put his nose to the grindstone, and he's got to train his backside off, and he's got to work on his touch. He's got to work on his runs. He's offside way too much for me. That's just sloppy, mentally not switched on to the game. So look, Solskjaer and Phelan will work with him. There's no two ways about that. They're not going to throw him out with the bathwater. There's no way that they're going to do that. But he's got to work on his game. He's not the finish. He's 25 or 6 or something. 26, I think he is now. He's still not the finished article. Mm-hmm. So you can work with him. And he has got to recognise, hey, I've got to do a little bit of work here.
A little bit of work for Lukaku, but still a very, very good feeling at Manchester United. And it is definitely crucial that they keep that feeling heading into those.
And you're a happy girl.
5 fixtures. I'm a happy girl.
What would you do with the Sanchez situation, this conundrum? Do you keep him? Do you try to flog him off? I mean, he's on exceedingly huge wages.
I mean, at the moment, you don't really need him, which is my point. You know, you just need him for a game like today where, you know, you've got a big game coming up. Sounds a bit, you know, disrespectful and such, but you just keep him to the end of the season. If he doesn't step up and perform, you know, that's the life we live in. If you don't perform, you get sold, you get loaned out. I know he's a lot of money, but if there's one club that can afford to sort of write off a bit of money, it'd be Man U.
You know, as a coach, you are obliged to get the best you possibly can out of every single player in your squad. And why wouldn't you? Because that's going to help you. That's going to help your team. That's going to help your CV. That's going to help the club. I think Solskjaer will work with Sanchez. I think Solskjaer will work with Lukaku, for sure. I think he will get better out of both of them than he's getting at the moment. You know, Sanchez doesn't look particularly interested. Sanchez should have scored today. Lukaku didn't score today. You know, the truth is that if there was a disappointing aspect about the game today from Manchester United's perspective, it was that Lukaku didn't score and Sanchez didn't score when he came on, because scoring goals for strikers is absolutely key to their positivity, their body language, and how they are around the club. So at the moment, I think Manchester United as a squad is buzzing. If there's 2 players that are a little bit flat, it's Lukaku and Sanchez.
It's interesting because you played against these players we're mentioning. So when it comes to that number 9 for Manchester United, Rashford or Lukaku for you?
Well, I used to think Lukaku. Used to, yeah. Before this season, Rashford, a bit green behind his ears, I suppose, when he first started. Wasn't as clever, which is understandable. You're only just learning the trade. But now he's come on heaps and bounds. I mean, he's one hell of a player. And I would pick him before Lukaku any time now. Like you said, Lukaku, when he comes on now today, is he thinking in the back of his mind, do I really need to perform? You know, just that little bit too eager to make something happening. So he just struggled to find his feet at the moment.
What's it like playing against him? I mean, and is he consistent against whichever team you were playing for at the time?
No, I just generally didn't know what Lukaku was going to turn up. I've had shocking games against him where he scored a couple of goals, and I thought, wow, who's this guy here? You know, I remember him from last time where he couldn't really control the ball, was really sort of fighting with it, didn't make the right runs, and then yeah, that game he put a couple past me. But which is difficult to judge. But as a manager, you want your players 9 times out of 10 turning up, doing a job, and getting the job done.
What would you do with Lukaku? You had your comments on Sanchez. Do you keep Lukaku?
I've got a bit more hope in him because I like his work ethic. I like the way he says the right stuff. He does the right stuff in terms of making the runs. With Sanchez, he looks a bit with him himself.
Lukaku is 5 years younger, off the top of my head, than Sanchez, which obviously is a huge plus as well. Do you reckon we'll ever see the best of Alexis Sanchez again?
Really tough one to answer. At the moment, I'd probably go against it.
No.
I'd probably say no at the moment. No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Players need a run in the side, and at a top club you have a lot of top players, and it's hard sometimes to get a run in the side. But personally, if I could have 3 forward players in my squad, I would have Lukaku in my squad. I would have Rashford in my squad. I would have Sanchez in my squad, and it would be my job to get the best out of them because they all have different qualities. They all bring me different things, and in different stages of different seasons and different competitions, you need those different qualities. So, let's be perfectly honest about it. Manchester United, at the moment, the evidence says they're on their way back.
Yeah. They already are. They're in the top 4.
They smell blood again.
Pardon?
They smell blood again.
They smell blood again.
Yeah, I can see the top 4.
How high do you think they're going to finish?
I think if I get to the top 4, that'd be.
So where they are now, they'll maintain it now.
I think that everyone will be happy, considering where they were 11 points off. I think they'll be taking the top 4.